Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All right. I'm off my rhythm here. I wonder why.
Yeah. Ryan.
A whole summer off will do that to you. Today's guests, including Elliotte Friedman, brought to you by the Bayside Oceanfront Resort. Book your next corporate or private event at the Bayside Oceanfront Resort in Parksville, offering full setup, including bar service and staffing, as well as business essentials to make your event seamless. Choose from their extensive banquet menu created by their talented chef. Do you know the chef's name?
No.
With focus on fresh seasonal ingredients. Call 250-248-8333 or visit Bayside Resort Parksville.com. We got Elliotte yet? Not yet?
No, not yet, no.
Okay.
He's working the phones.
Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox from Burnaby Lloyd. Lloyd and I played lacrosse together for the Norburn organization. This guy was a hell of a lacrosse player. Have to agree, Donnie, playing at Queen's Park, very exciting. I really hope Six Nations and the Bellies have an entertaining series. I remember I watched the greatest lacrosse series ever there in 1971. Richmond Roadrunners, Peterborough Petes, just outstanding. They had the organ blasting, the smell of the hot dogs and popcorn in a jam-packed Queen's Park. Again, that's from lacrosse fan Burnaby Lloyd. The 71 Roadrunners just went into the BC Sports Hall of Fame this past year. My brother was a part of that team.
Yeah.
My late brother Dave.
You got
played on that Richmond Roadrunners team. Picked up from Burnaby Cablevision. It's a long story.
Go Salmon Bellies, go Queen's Park. And I'm the one that brought that up. Queen's Park's the best rink in the Lower Mainland, Vancouver, British Columbia. I don't care. The history. Going back.
You're upset that I mentioned Kerrisdale Arena is
Yeah,
old?
you mentioned Kerrisdale Arena. Well, then tell me, Ernie Punch McLean and the Bruins. Are you kidding me?
No, you said which arena is, and age-wise, I believe they're around the same vintage. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, and Cliff Ronning, Pokey Reddick, the Ewan brothers, all those guys at Queen's Park. Are you kidding? Best there ever was.
Peony Forum back in the day, where the Canucks originally played.
Yes, Blazers.
There's some great minor hockey that went on there. Okay, we good?
We got Elliotte.
We got Elliotte Friedman here from fresh off the boat in Stockholm. Elliotte Friedman from Hockey Night in Canada, the 32 Thoughts podcast. Elliotte, thanks for doing this, sir. How was your summer?
Well, Pettersson almost threw me off it, but other than that, it was really good.
Is it possible for you, with this guy calling you all the time, to have time off in the summer?
Put it this way, it's like there's nothing, it's always going to be a great conversation when the first thing you hear is Elliotte, then you know things are about to go wild.
Yeah, I get it every day. So you do the interview with Elias Pettersson on the boat in Stockholm in the summer during his time off. What was you like to deal with?
I think that it's probably similar for me than he is for a lot of media out in Vancouver. He's very quiet. He's very careful. He's the one thing I would say, I think, first of all, I really do enjoy talking to him. I think he's very cerebral. I think he's, in our business, we have to be loud or we have to be bombastic. But the truth is that I really admire people who let their actions talk more than their words do. Unfortunately, in our business, we're not really allowed to be that way. But you come across people who are like that. And I think he's a guy who really believes, Don, that actions are more important than words. And I think he believes that in the way he plays. And I think he believes that in the way he lives his life. And I know that when I posted the video, there were some people who were people took it as a neutron bomb kind of. I don't think he thinks it's a big deal. I don't think that he feels that there's anything to be read into that any more than what it is, which is that he wants to win. And that it doesn't mean that he's not staying in Vancouver. One of the things he said in the clip was, he doesn't know if his next, he knows he's going to get paid. He puts up another 100-point season or anything even close to it, he's going to get paid. I think that more than thinking about a long-term or a short-term deal, and it's not the same as someone like Nylander because it's 2 years until he's a UFA. He sees it as, are we sure it's going to be here? And, he didn't say a single bad thing about the Canucks. He didn't on or off the record. Like, he didn't question Rutherford's plan, Aldin's plan, Tockett's plan, anyone's plan. He didn't say a negative word about any of his teammates. He just said, I want to make sure. And I think that he doesn't think that's as big a deal as a lot of other people do, but I understand why people in Vancouver think it's a big deal.
Yeah, and Elliot, just building on something you said there, he's got a matter-of-fact approach about his conversations with the media. Do people read too much into that? I think you touched on it earlier.
I think he thinks so. Like, the thing is, like, he's not oblivious to it, Don. Like, I think he really... I think he recognizes that. I think he sees the passion of the market in two ways. I think he sees it partially as when the Canucks are good or it's a great night at the arena, he thinks it's awesome. He thinks like in a night last year where he scores a big overtime winner, is a big goal or big point performance. He loves that. He thinks it's fantastic. I think, like, a lot of people sometimes, he thinks some of the noise is crazy and way over the top. So I think he, like a lot of players who play in Vancouver, it's a balancing act for him. It's a balancing act between the fervor for hockey, which is a reason a lot of us have jobs, and also the passion for having the Canucks do well. And I think he just feels, Don, it's more important he shows up in good shape and he has a big year as opposed to anything he says or whether he wears a letter.
Elliotte, a lot of questions about the Canucks this season. Will they make the playoffs? Are they going to be better? All that stuff. What is your gut saying right now? July 1st, they certainly addressed the penalty kill. All four of their signings were obviously going to improve the PK for sure. But what's your gut saying about this team?
Well, I think they will be better. I don't have a lot of doubt about that. I think they will be better. I think that, one of the things that I think is very important is in a Canadian market, there's always going to be noise. The key is, can you avoid self-inflicted noise?
That's it.
And last year there was a lot of self-inflicted noise around the Canucks. I think that's one thing they really have to tone down. And I think they're all kind of thinking about that. But I think that, the one thing is, I do think they believe they're deeper. I do think they believe they're better. I think it's a really tough division. I think the thing that's really interesting to me this year, guys, is going to be the race for the 2 wildcard spots, because I think the Pacific Division is much stronger than the Central. Like in the Central, I see 2 really good teams in Colorado and Dallas, and then I see like a lot of teams that can go in a lot of different directions. And so I'm really curious to see how a lot of those Central teams are going to go. Like, I don't think Chicago is going to be very good, but teams like Minnesota, St. Louis, even Arizona, Winnipeg, I see situations where things could go really well for them, and I see situations where things could go really strange or poorly for them. Same with Nashville. So I look at the Pacific. Obviously, Vegas is really good. I think Vegas could win the Stanley Cup again. I think Edmonton could win the Stanley Cup. I think LA they have shown that they are really determined. Like, first round is not good enough for them anymore. I think Calgary's going to be better. I think you guys are going to be better. And then I think there's some teams there. Like, obviously I don't think San Jose is going to be very good. I don't think Anaheim's going to be very good. And Seattle's coming off a big year. So I think there's 6 teams in there playing for 5 playoff berths. And I know it's early, but right now, Rick, if you told me the Pacific Division took 3 berths from their division and 2 in the wild card, I'd believe it. And it's just a question of where they're all going to finish.
Rick Tocchet made it very clear. He was asked about a lack of a practice facility, and he made it very clear he'd like to have one. What's got to take place here? They've been trying for a long time. I mean, they got to get one here, Elliotte, soon. Well,
you know the market, the ins and outs. Like, I've covered municipal politics as part of a sports team before. Like right now, the building in Toronto, Scotiabank, where the Raptors and the Maple Leafs play, I covered when the Raptors first tried to get that building, and it was a real battle for a while. Like, municipal politics are not a fun thing to deal with and cover. So the ins and outs of that better than I do. But the one thing, I will say is that I do think it's a thing. I do think players talk about it. If you take a look at it, the Oilers, Connor McDavid told Mark Spector from our place that he wants everybody back in this week, and they're going. And Philadelphia last year, the team kind of Tortorella's not shy about these things. He's like, I'd love it if you guys were all back in Philadelphia by the beginning of September. And I think they talked about it again. And they have a place where they all can practice. That's an easy place to get to. I do think it's a thing. Like when Talkin's saying that, he's not just blowing hot air. I do think the Canucks look at it as something that it's not essential, but it helps. And, I know teams right now, they're really serious about it. If they have real hope and belief for what they're going to do this season, there's peer pressure. Maybe it's not allowed by the CBA, but there's peer pressure. Get back and let's get practicing together. And it's harder for the Canucks to do than maybe any other team in the league to do. So it's definitely a thing.
Back to Elias Pettersson, Elliotte. Matt Barzal making 9.15 per over 8. Austin Matthews 13.25 over 4. Are one of those gentlemen, depending on what he does this season, comparable for Elias Pettersson, or is it somewhere in the middle, less than Barzal? What do you think?
Well, I put it this way. I do think if you take a look at the contracts that Barzal has signed, even the contract this year Aho has signed, like players like Nylander and Pettersson have outscored those guys.
Yep.
And so, there's but the one thing I always tell people, and the book's a little older now, but if you really want to understand how players and agents and teams think, you should read a book called The Bald Truth. And it's by David Falk, who was Michael Jordan's agent. And he talks a lot in there about how teams and agents deconstruct and reconstruct and move arguments their own way. And, but the easiest way always to look at it is look at Pettersson's counting numbers and say, yeah, this is what Barzal has, or this is what Aho has, and he should be higher than that. And teams and players will manipulate that. I absolutely think, look, it's going to be a massive number. If Pettersson has another 100-point season, Don, it's going to be an 8-digit number. Unless, for whatever reason, Pettersson says, you know what, I don't need that to make this work. But you have to plan based on the fact it will be. I think the other key thing to mention here is after that Pettersson bid aired, and I went on with Halford and Brough the other week, I got a call from someone who said, do you think the Canucks are putting as much pressure on Pettersson as Pettersson is on them? And I said, what do you mean by that? And he goes, do you think behind the scenes they're kind of saying, well, if Pettersson's going to talk like this, he has to prove it too, that he's a guy who can deliver. Yep. And I think, you know what, Don, I think it goes both ways. I think the Canucks look at it as, we'll be happy to pay you. You just got to take us somewhere. So I think in a lot of ways, while people freak out about that, it's like, I look at it this way. If he plays the way he plays, everything's going to take care of itself. As long as the team goes with him, then everything's going to take care of itself. Because I'll tell you one thing, and you'll see, I think the piece is airing on opening night. When there's a game he talks about, and I want to leave it in the interview so you can see him talk about it. There's a game he talks about where he talks about what the building was like. And you can't fake the look that he has on his face when he talks about it. He knows if he wins there, he's a god there. I don't think Pettersson really cares if he's a god or not, but he loves the emotion of it.
What's the name of that book
again? The emotion of victory.
What's the name?
The Bald Truth. By David
Bald?
Falk.
I don't have to read that, Elliotte. I see it in the mirror every morning.
Hey, Don, you had a lot of good years, man. You got nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't mind to have a few of them back. Elliotte, thanks for this. Good to have you back. Hope you had a great summer.
All right, you guys too. I look forward to another year of the Canuck Inferno. It keeps us all employed. Thank you, guys.
Hey, you start most of those fires, pal.
No, never.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elliotte.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate it. Elliotte Friedman.